Ladies and gents, it's the 12th of June 2012 and we've had some really lucky moments already here on Lucky Live TV since we were out in Ibiza. But today we're in a very special place, Ibiza Rocks House at Pikes Hotel, and I'm here with a very, very special person in the industry, Baron Wolman. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good. I mean, I can't believe that I'm here. After all these years, I've never been here, and this is the first time in all these years that I've been to Ibiza.
Well, fantastic. First time for everything, eh?
Yeah, finally. I mean, if not now, then when, you know?
So we're going clubbing next weekend?
Should I?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will. If you say so, I'll be there.
It's got to be done.
It's got to be done. Yeah, I have stories to tell, right?
I'll see if I can get your press pass. Maybe you can get your cameras in, yeah?
That's a good idea, yeah. No. Oh, otherwise no cameras, huh?
Yeah, no cameras. No,
man, I mean, it's got to be fun to document that, huh?
Definitely.
Look at the smile on your face. I can tell you enjoy that.
Yeah, filming Ibiza, it's great. Baron, obviously, you're going to be doing something really special here today. And be sharing some stories about your life and your career as a photographer, some of the stories that you've had, as well as sharing some of the work, selling it as well, which is great. You've done some epic things. I mean, this 10 minutes with you is not going to be enough. So, I mean, let's just go through some of the highlights. Sharing the stage with Jimmi Hendrix, I mean, can you tell me?
I mean, sharing the stage with Jimmi Hendrix was an unexpected joy. I had no idea. I knew who Jimmi Hendrix was, but being on the stage with him, I was not actually in the middle of the stage with him. I was off to the side, but I was close enough, and I got that incredible picture that you probably saw out there. Because I had this connection to the band. I don't know where it came from, that I felt as though I was part of the band. With film, in the old days, you shoot film, you have 36 exposures, maybe 2 or 3 good ones come from a roll, and you think, oh, God, I nailed it. But that night with Jimmi Hendrix, I would get 20, 25 photos that were really great off of every roll. So there was a connection there. I always tell people, it's a little pretentious, I always tell people, those guys were playing their guitars and playing the drum, and I was playing my Nikon, right? But I felt like I was part of the band. I felt so close to it. It was an amazing experience. And it's just one that I look at and look back at and realize it was a gift of the photographic gods, the gods of photography, to let me be there at that moment.
It must have been amazing. And I mean, after everything you've done as a photographer, I know now only a few years having worked in film, you start to see everything in a different way. And how would you explain the way you see the world through this?
Well, it's interesting. When I got my first camera, I was 15 years old, and I feel like I married that camera that day. And for 60 years, because I'm old, 75 years old, and I feel like I've been married to that camera the whole time, and it's been my best friend throughout all these years. What happened to me is that before I had a camera, I looked out at the world, and it was very chaotic. There was noise, visual noise, chaos. I picked up the camera, and I could frame the moment that was important to me, and everything quieted down, and I began then to see the world the way to communicate with people, the world that I saw. So it was just, it started out as a hobby, but it was a very meaningful hobby. It was more than just something to take pictures of the family, It was a way to visit the world and to fulfill my curiosity about the world. Like, what's going on? Let's take a picture of it,
Yeah, for sure. Do you not just walk around and just want to take photos of everything you see?
Not everything, no. Some things are not worth photographing.
Yeah, there you go. There's the answer.
You're worth photographing, and she's worth photographing, and so are they. So maybe I'll take some pictures of them. Yeah.
Baron, also the Summer of Love in San Francisco. I'd love to hear your story on that.
Well, it was interesting. My ex-wife and I, she was a ballet dancer with San Francisco Ballet. So we came to town. We moved from LA, and we drove around. It's like, where do we want to live? Where do we want to live? And we started looking around at all the people. Which kind of people do we want to live with, as our neighbors? So we ended up in the Haight-Ashbury because everybody looked cool, they looked different, they looked just enough eccentric, right? So we ended up in the Haight-Ashbury, and that was like a year before the Summer of Love happened. And, the kids came from all over the country, sex, drugs, rock and roll. That's it, free sex. Everything was free, supposedly. And they came to see what was going on. And I think the media built it up, but it really was a special time in San Francisco for sure. But Haight Street, for example, which is where the focus of it was, the cars, the traffic on Haight Street, you could not move. The people would come from all over to look and see what a hippie is. They're like, what's a hippie look like? I want to see a hippie. So they'd take they'd bring their little Instamatics, and these guys would stand out in the street selling hippie papers. Yeah. And if you paid 25 cents for a paper, he'd let you take your picture. It was great. No, I mean, and there was music playing all the time. Free music in Golden Gate Park because Haight-Ashbury was right adjacent to Golden Gate Park. So the Grateful Dead would play free, and Quicksilver Messenger Service, and Janis Joplin. They'd all go out there and play free concerts. I mean, you can't believe it. It was an amazing time.
Talking about free concerts with Janis Joplin, I believe you had a
pretty free No, I'll tell you a funny story about that before I tell you the story about that.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so people come up to me all the time and they say, hey, I got a question for you. You know, I won't tell anybody, you know, just between you and me. Like, okay, is that all right? Okay. And they say, what's your question? Did you sleep with Janis Joplin? They all ask me, did I sleep with Janis Joplin? And I say, well, what do you think? And they say, oh, thank you, man. Thank you. What have I said? You know, I've given no answer, but they think I've given an answer. Anyhow, so what happened was, Rolling Stone in the beginning, we were a newsprint publication. Yeah. We could not print color. So I shot everything in black and white. One day I got a call from a New York magazine that wanted a color photo of Janis Joplin in concert. And I didn't have any because I'd been shooting in black and white. So I called up Janis. I mean, she lived very close in the Haight. You were all living together, you know, close in the Haight. And I said, Janis, what do you got coming up? Because I need some color shots of a concert. She's got nothing coming up, Baron. I said, well, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. Come over to the studio, because the studio was in my house, upstairs in my house. I'll set up the lights as if they're a concert, and you bring just bring a microphone, and you could lip sync and do a concert. And it looked like we're doing a concert. So she said, okay. So she came over, and she brought a small tape deck with some music on it so that she'd have something to lip sync to. And I set up the lights. We started shooting, and she started lip syncing, and then she started singing very slowly, and then she started singing a little bit louder. And then finally she said, what the hell? I'm going to do a whole concert. So for 1 hour, she actually put on a concert for me in my house. Just for me. The concert, I call it the concert for one, because she was going full out. Janis Joplin could never do anything less than 150%, and there was no reason for her to do anything less than that in my studio. It was amazing.
Magic moment.
Yeah, it really was a magic moment. My ex-wife came, she came back from ballet practice, and she heard what was going on up there. She ran down to Haight Street, got a rose, and came and gave Janis the rose. You know, it's like, oh, yeah.
That's so cool.
It was really.
How many shots did you take there? You must have been non-stop.
Yeah, I did. I mean, unfortunately, yeah. Anyhow, I could have taken more, but if you were to see them, you would not believe it was not a real concert. There's no indication that was not a live concert at all. Nobody thinks it's It was fantastic, yeah.
And Baron, listen, you're in Ibiza. It's the home of dance music. It's the home of some of the best parties in the world. But I think you've probably been to the one that we all wish for years and years that we could go to. Tell us about Woodstock.
Woodstock was a party. There's no question about it. I mean, it was a party for 300,000 of my friends, my dearest friends, right? I mean, I came upon Woodstock and I looked around. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. I mean, the endless people, endless people. And I stood on the stage, you know, trying to get a picture of all of them. I didn't have a lens that was wide enough to include everybody in it. But it was, you know, it was really, what was wonderful about Woodstock, it was a disaster waiting to happen, and it didn't. And so it showed us that, you know, all this stuff we used to say about peace, love, and music was really possible. Yeah. And, I mean, there's so many stories that came out of Woodstock. I'll give you a couple that are really funny. They forgot to set up the ticket booth, the guys who were running the show. So 100,000 people had come in without giving the tickets. When they realized they had no ticket booth, and they thought, okay, we have to tell them to go out and come back in. They said, you're going to tell them to go out? You want to have a riot, or do you want to have a concert? And then the other story I always tell. But, I mean, it is true. This is the true story.
So did they tell them to get out?
They did not tell them to get out. They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare. Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't dare. But the other thing that happened that is really fascinating is that, you know, Woodstock took place in an area of dairy farms. A lot of cows around. I got a great picture of the cows with the hippies behind and stuff like that. But the cows were so traumatized by the hippies and the music that for 1 month after Woodstock, they refused to give milk. Yeah. Nobody knows that. So, but what can I tell you?
Stories like that?
I mean, stories like that. No, Woodstock was great. I mean, there's so many other stories, I mean, Jerry Garcia and Carlos Santana were backstage. And Jerry said to Carlos, hey, man, we're not going to go on for hours. Let's get high. So they either did, it's unclear, but they either did acid or they did some mescaline, and they both got really high. Okay, after they got high, shortly after they got high, the call came, okay, Carlos, you're on. And so he's tripping through his whole set. And if you can find him talking about it on YouTube, he says, I'm holding on to this guitar. It was like a steel snake. It wouldn't stop moving. It was in my hands. I couldn't control it. He said, I looked out into the audience and I saw 300,000 pair of eyes. I saw 300,000 sets of teeth. I saw the music going out and coming back. I had no idea what I was doing. And yet he did a fantastic concert, as you know. Yeah. That concert was the breakthrough concert for Santana's band. So maybe you need to be high in order to do a good set. It's great. I mean, I had a good ride at Rolling Stone. I had a great time. I mean, I got stories and stories and stories. And I was just there for a relatively short period of time, actually. So who knows, had I stayed, what it would have been like, whether I'd be here today and healthy and, and in one piece and with my brain cells intact.
But Baron, I mean, what does it feel like for you, or what does it mean to you to be in Ibiza? It's obviously a special place in the world.
It is interesting because this whole period of time when I was shooting, I would always hear about Ibiza, People say, you got to go to Ibiza. I said, why do I have to go to Ibiza? You got to go to Ibiza, man. It's like there's no place like it. I said, what do you mean? It's like everything you've ever dreamed of is possible in Ibiza. I was like, what do you mean? And, they kept saying that. And for one reason or another, I'm so responsible that I kept working and I didn't come to Ibiza. But all my friends went, and they all came back with great stories. Yeah. So here I am, at this old, ripe age, finally getting to experience something I probably should have come 2 years ago. So I'm really happy to be here in this place, and that they made it possible, that Pikes made it possible for me to be here, and Dan Miller brought me here. It's an honor, actually. I'm touched because. Yeah. People seem to appreciate the pictures that I've done.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pikes is a pretty special venue to do what you're going to do
It's
tonight.
perfect, isn't it? Perfect. Yeah. I mean, this is where it all a lot of it happened. Put it that way. Maybe not all, but a lot.
So when did you actually get here?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. So normally I ask everybody 2 questions at an interview, right? So you've only been here a day, so we'll see what you say. Yeah. Being on Ibiza for only 1 day, what's going to be your favorite thing about the island so far?
This conversation we're having right now.
Awesome.
How
Thank you for
about
that. Yeah, that's fun. I like that. And then the very last question. We're on Lucky Life TV.
Yeah.
So I got to know, Baron, what's the luckiest thing that has ever happened to you?
The day that Jan Wenner told me about his idea for Rolling Stone, and he said, look, Baron, we're going to need a photographer. You want to be the photographer? I said, hey, why not?
There you go.
Very lucky day.
That's a pretty lucky moment, and aren't you glad you jumped onto that, hey?
I am so glad I jumped into that. We wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't jump into that. Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, look, I know you're going to be sharing a whole lot more stories with us out there in Pikes around the pool, showing us some of your artwork and sharing even more stories, so we look forward to that. Guys, this is Baron Wolman down at Pikes Hotel here in Ibiza, 12th of June, 2012. Amazing. Great.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Great interview.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Thanks.
Daniel Miller promised me that if I came to Ibiza, my life would change. This would be a life-changing experience. It already has begun for sure.